What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the politics and BS. Well, a video that Icecube did last election season for president has gone viral recently, or just come back up in the algorithm. And it was almost as if he just recently did this video, and a lot of people were responding to it. And I want to play the video, what he had to say, because I don't believe anything that he said was wrong. And I don't believe that anything that he said was just for last election season, and it has nothing to do with the election season that's going on right now. So I'm going to play the video, and then I'm going to get into my thoughts as to why I'm saying that nothing that he's saying is actually wrong. But before I play the video, Icecube, he was trying to speak to, I believe it was the Biden administration last cycle, and whatever was going on, I guess they just couldn't make it happen. But Donald Trump's campaign was willing to speak to him and make the time, which I honestly don't believe that they made the time for him, because they were really concerned and caring and wanted to, speak to him about policy for Black America in general. I definitely believe that it was more about, we spoke to Icecube and they didn't. That's my personal opinion, because Trump doesn't care about anybody but himself. Let's just be clear. But Icecube came up with the contract for Black America, okay? So I want to play this video, what he had to say, and then I'll get into my thoughts about it.
Yo, what's up? This your homie Icecube. Here to talk to my Black folks. I just want to be straight up. Because there's a lot of messages going out about this election. First and foremost, anybody telling you that you gotta vote, that it's your duty, that you have to exercise the right, and that people died for you to vote. For one, people did die, but nobody walked out their house to go die for you to vote. They were killed by probably some racists that don't want to see us get anything. But I'm saying that to say this. Be skeptical of anybody telling you to vote and not telling you to ask for anything, or to tell you to just vote and not to get anything for your vote. That's not how it works. That's not the process. You don't vote just to vote. You vote because you're getting something, or your community is getting something. So everybody that's telling you that, man, look at them and say, what are you getting? Because people that just want you to vote and not ask for nothing, people that's in power that want you to vote but don't want you to get anything, or not asking for you to get anything economically, they suspect. Straight up. Because a lot of people been in place for a long time and we ain't got shit. That shit gonna end. That shit gonna end. We gonna get what we supposed to get. Period. And anybody asking you not to ask, I wouldn't listen to them. Because that's the process. Every community asks for what they want. And we gonna do the same goddamn thing.
Well, you heard that, and this is my thoughts on that. Nothing that he said was wrong. He said it back then, and it's still relevant today. I 100% agree that people who were fighting for the rights to vote did not intentionally die for the right to vote. They were probably killed by some racist people who were trying to stop them from advancing towards some sort of equality. So while I agree with what he said in that, yet and still people did die just trying to have the right to vote. So if people were willing to take people's lives, if people were willing then and still to this day now are doing things to prevent people from having the right to vote, because there are a lot of things that still go on to this day where they may not be literally taking people's lives, but they're doing things to infringe on those rights that people do have to vote. They're making it harder for people to vote. Because they're doing those things, it shows you how important it is for you to vote. So if they're doing those things, then you should say, well, you know what? This must be really important. So maybe I should do this, because they're trying really hard to fight against people like myself having the right to vote. And two, those people who sit and talk like the Umar Johnsons and the Tariq Nasheeds, you know you ain't getting nothing for your vote. You know Kamala ain't gonna do nothing for you. You know you don't need to have no black woman in office. I'd rather be a slave than have a black woman be a president of the United States, like Charleston White said. So stupid and ridiculous. If you have people like that saying things like that, and you're listening to that versus saying, you know what, I believe that I should be getting some incentive for my vote, but you're just going to sit there and complain and say, you know, you're not going to get anything for your vote, so why bother? Then you should not be listening to people like that. You should be voting, but absolutely having some expectation for your vote and making your voices heard. Those people who sit like the Umars, like the Tariqs, like the Charlestons, instead of saying, you know what, I don't believe that Donald Trump has my best personal interest at heart. So let me see what I can do about getting some things and making some lists and making, some initiatives a reality by pressing this administration that is courting my vote and the people that I have influence with and influence maybe over to vote for them. Say, okay, well, if we're going to vote for you, these are the things that we are expecting. And no, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way where you just vote for someone and then, magically, once they are inaugurated, those things that you requested are done. It doesn't work that way. That's why you have to vote in your local elections as well, because a lot of these losers that take up space in Congress, like icecube said, they've been in these positions forever and they're not doing anything for you. Seriously. So they come every 4 years to talk about the president, but they don't they usually are not even the people that are even voting in the presidential election, but they dang sure are not voting in the local elections. And those are the ones that usually make the biggest difference. Because in order for the president to have as much power as they really need in order to get a lot of the things pushed ahead that they would desire to have done, they have to have the support in Congress. So if you have a situation where, like Barack Obama, he was president, but then he had a backlash, and it wasn't so much he had the backlash, but a lot of people, this is how Donald Trump came into power. A lot of people were angry that the fact that a biracial man was elected to be the president of the United States, and Mitch McConnell came out and said, our number one goal is to make Barack Obama a one-term president. And you had these people in Congress, they were voting more people in like the Mitch McConnells and even worse. So now you have the MAGA likes in Congress that are pushing those agendas. So Barack Obama couldn't really do as much as he really wanted to do while he was the president, because the majority were voting against a lot of the things that he wanted to do. Yeah, they could do some executive decisions and some executive orders, but even that has its limitations. So nothing that icecube said was indeed wrong. You should vote. You definitely shouldn't, I believe, you should not be voting unless you're in that top 1% to 3%, which I hate to break it to you guys. You may be doing really well financially. Those of you that are listening to this podcast, if you're doing exceptionally well financially, all the blessings to you, buddy. But most people are not in the top 1% to 3%. You ain't even in the top 10%. honestly. So most of the things that Donald Trump is pushing to propose is not going to benefit you. And for those people who claim to be Christians and they say, oh, well, his beliefs align with my Christian beliefs. Trust and believe, Donald Trump is not a Christian. And the things that he's pushing and proposing is not Christ-like. It's just not. So, yeah, you should not just vote because people say you should just vote just because. You shouldn't expect anything for your vote. I'm absolutely not saying that. I do agree with icecube, but I also do believe that you need to vote and you need to make your voices heard, not just by voting, but you have to do more so that the things that you want to see happen, be the change that you want to see. You have to work for that. You have to join up with organizations or maybe you create it where you are lobbying to get things pushed and have legislation created and passed that is going to be beneficial for you and for your community and for your own best personal interests. That's just the way it has to be. But you can't just sit there and complain and say, you ain't going to get nothing for that vote, because those people who sit and say those things, like those people that I mentioned, those are just a few examples, but there's a number of people out there like that. They're not pushing to propose anything that's going to be beneficial with the administration. No, most of them, they're just sitting grift off of you and get you to buy their stuff or invest in what they are creating, and it's benefiting them and they're eating good and living okay. And meanwhile, you're struggling because you're getting caught up in the hype and the emotions of what they're doing. It's similar to church. So anyway, guys, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.